Welcome to Armand Academy. Like and subscribe for more content and drop your doubts in the comments. Share with your friends and classmates. For private tuition in these subjects across all boards and universities, contact me here or the link in the description. Let's get started. Generic Pharma Limited invited applications for using 3 lakh equity shares of 10 each at a premium of 6 per share. The amount was payable as follows. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build a note which I will use. Offered, the shares that were offered are 3 lakhs. It is at 10 plus a premium of 6. So I will write face value is equal to 10 plus 6. The amount was payable as follows on application and allotment. So I'm just going to use short form application and allotment. 4 per share, including premium of 2. So I will write it as 2 plus 2. And then on the first and final call, they're saying the balance. Now I know that the total is 10 plus 6. So the balance over here is going to be 8 and the balance over here is going to be 4. This will help me pass the entries going forward. Okay, it will be much more easier to pass the entries. Now, neatness, of course, is important. Applications for 4 lakh shares were received. So applied is going to be 4 lakhs. And I'm simply looking at the question and writing what they're saying. Applications for 40,000 shares were rejected. 40,000 shares were rejected. 4 lakhs were received. Rejected is 40,000. Shares were allotted on pro-rata basis to the remaining applicants. So what is remaining? If you applied for 4 lakhs and 40,000 was rejected, then pro rata is going to be on the remaining 3 lakh 60,000. That means we need to adjust for the excess of 60. Okay, and that we'll do as we pass entries. They're telling us that excess money received on application was adjusted towards some due on first and final call, because you've only got 2 levels: application and allotment and first and final call. Jain, an applicant for 3,600 shares, failed to pay the first and final call. Okay, so I need to make a little bit of space on the right hand side. What I'm going to do is, corresponding to the first and final call, in brackets, I will write 3,600 unpaid. And then they're telling us that his shares were forfeited. Nothing else is mentioned. So instead of just writing unpaid, okay, what I will do is I will write unpaid, comma, forfeited. Okay. Now, that is something that I have to concentrate on at the end. For now, I need to start passing journal entries. Okay. It is in the books of Generic Pharma Limited. So I made a journal, right? And I'm going to write in the books of, okay, so in the books of, in the books of generic, okay, handwriting is very important. Generic Pharma Limited journal. And then we start making the entries. Notice that we do not have dates. We leave the date column blank. Simple as that. Now, the first entry is always bank account debit to share application and allotment. But remember, we are talking about equity shares. So it has to be equity application and allotment. How much? 2 plus 2 will give us 4. How many shares were applied for? 4 lakhs. So I have to multiply the applied amount into the application and allotment. So we are talking about 4 rupees into 4 lakhs, which is 16 lakhs. Bank account debit, bank account debit to equity share application and allotment account. If it goes into the next line, it's fine. Let it go to the next line. 4 per share into 4 lakh shares is 16 lakhs. Okay, here also 16 lakhs being application money received. Being application money of rupees 4, including rupees 2 premium received for 4 lakh shares. Received for 4 lakh shares. Okay, and the moment you're done doing a journal entry, always remember you have to draw a line with a scale, please. Okay, so I'm done with the first entry. I've received the money. My next step is to transfer it to the equity share capital account. Okay, and I'm just going to have a look at what they've told us here. Okay, couple of things that we need to keep in mind. We know that 40,000 shares were rejected and the rest was pro rata. Okay, so when we say pro rata means we are adjusting. People have offered to buy, okay, people have applied to buy 3,60,000 shares, but we're offering only 3 lakhs. So what are we saying? Uh, for all 3,60,000, we're going to adjust and give everybody 3 lakhs. That means, for example, if you applied for 36 shares, you're going to get only 30 shares. Like that, we're going to adjust. That extra 60,000 is basically going to get carried forward into the next level, which is first and final call. But until we make the call, all right, until we ask them to pay, we have to keep it somewhere. And that account where we put it is called the calls in advance. Okay, so because there is an adjustment, I'm taking the money out of the equity share application and allotment account. How much? Full 16 lakhs. Equity share application and allotment account debit. Okay, yes, it's going on to 2 lines. It doesn't matter. Okay, 2 equity share capital account, 2 equity share capital account. I will also at this point of time have to credit securities premium because at the time of application and allotment, 2 rupees per share of the offered amount is supposed to go to securities premium. All right, so I will write 2 securities premium, 2 securities premium. Then what else do we need to do? We have 2 calls in advance for the extra money that is being paid and we are not refunding and we are adjusting into a future call. So calls in advance. And then we are rejecting some. So to bank account. And now we can think of the numbers. So first of all, we credited 16 lakhs here. We will debit 16 lakhs over here. Okay, so we are debiting equity share application and allotment account with 16 lakhs. Now, as far as the equity share capital account is concerned, remember when we're doing application, at the time of application, it is applied into application. At the time of transfer to share capital, it is offered into application. So how much is offered? 3 lakhs. 3 into 2, 6 lakhs will be share capital. 3 into the other two, 6 lakhs will be securities premium. Okay, so we are talking about 6 and 6 lakhs. All right, so we credit equity share capital account with 6 lakhs. We credit securities premium with 6 lakhs. Then, as far as the calls in advance are concerned, we offered 3 lakhs, but we are doing pro rata for 3 lakh 60. So the extra amount that is being paid is 60,000. Okay, the extra amount is 60,000, which I'm going to multiply into the amount expected at the time of application and allotment, which is 4. Okay, and I'm going to end up with 2,40,000. I'm going to end up with 2,40,000. Okay, so this is your calls in advance. Now, bank also, I mean, we can take the debit and subtract the credits, but it's always best to solve it directly. Okay, so we have rejected 40,000, 4 rupees each. Okay, so 40,000 into 4 is 1 lakh 60, is 1 lakh 60. And now let's just add them to see if we are correct. 6 plus 6 is 12 lakhs. 2 lakh 40 plus 1 lakh 40 is going to give you 4 lakhs. So 12 plus 4 gives you 16 lakhs, and therefore the debit equals the credit. All right. So narration over here is simply going to give a brief summary about what has happened. So what has happened, first of all, being application money transferred to share capital and securities premium, being application money transferred to share capital account and securities premium account. Okay, then and excess money refunded. You can talk about pro rata going to calls in advance if you want. That also you can do. This much should do. Okay, you're done. And again, straight line. Okay, me using a graphics tablet, it's a little bit painful to do a perfectly straight line, but you all should use a pencil and scale. Now, I'm back here. Okay, I finished taking care of the first level, bank to share application and allotment, share application and allotment to share capital, and all the others. Now, what is the next step? I have to tell the allottees that please pay the first and final call. Okay, so when it is due, okay, when we are saying, uh, when we are telling them to pay, how much are they supposed to pay altogether? 12, out of which 8 is to share capital and 4 is to premium. Whenever we are doing the first entry, bank to application, it is always receipt first and then transfer. This is receipt and this is transfer. Okay, but you need to keep in mind that when we move forward in all subsequent levels, okay, even if there was first call, second call, third call, fourth call, we do transfer first and then receipt. So it is going to be equity share first and final call account debit. And I've tried very hard to put it in the same line. Okay, so equity share first and final call account debit. 2, equity share capital account to securities premium account, because there is securities premium involved at the first and final call. So I'm going back over here. Okay, I notice it. The total is 8 plus 4, which is 12. Fine. How many shares did I offer? 3. So 3 into 12, I think is 36. So 36 lakhs I will debit. Okay, 36 lakhs I will debit equity share first and final call account. Then equity share capital account, I know it is 8. 8 into the same 3. So 3 eights are 24 lakhs. 24 lakhs we will credit here. And we can subtract for securities premium, but it's always better to see how much 4 into 3, which is 12 lakhs. And feel free to add 24 and 12 lakhs. You will get 36 lakhs, and therefore you know it matches and balances. Being being first call money, first and final call money, first and final call money due. Okay, and yeah, those is the bracket. Okay, being is something that you know we used to while passing journal entries. Okay, as part of the narration. Now, uh, we have said pay 36 lakhs, but we know that somebody has not paid. Somebody has, okay, Mr. Jain has not paid 3,600. That means when we are receiving the money, we're receiving 3 lakhs minus 3,600. Okay, and let's see, 3 lakhs minus 3,000 is 2 lakh 97. Okay, so it's going to be 2 lakh 96. 2 lakh 96 400. 2 lakh 96 400 shares worth of money we are receiving, which we can multiply into 12. Now, this calculation is a little tedious. You all are not allowed a calculator. But if I have to fill this up, what all do I fill up? I'm not receiving money. The money that I receive, okay, the money that I receive, I will debit the bank account. Bank account debit. Also remember that we made an adjustment for pro-rata. That is still here. This 2,40,000 is already paid in advance. When it was paid in advance, we credited calls in advance. Now that it is due, we will debit calls in advance. So calls in advance account, calls in advance account, debit. Okay, and please write debit at the end like this. How much is the calls in advance? That I know. The calls in advance is 2,40,000. Okay, so that I can write down. Then how much is not being paid is going to be calls in arrears debit. Calls in arrears account debit. And that calculation is going to be the 3,600 that we have not received into 12. So 3,600 into 12. All right. And I mean, we have to do the math. There's no way out of this. So 12 zeros are 0, 12 zeros are 0, 6 12s are 72, 2 carry 7, 12 threes are 36. Okay. Plus 7. So I'm guessing that is 43. So 43,000. Okay. 43,700 is what would have otherwise have not been paid. But you need to keep in mind, he was part of this. He was part of this group who have done pro rata. Everyone has done pro rata. Okay, so uh, I should not be taking 43,700. I should ask myself how much is due for this person, because I need to look at what exactly was mentioned about this 3,600. Okay, an applicant for 3,600. That means if, okay, and let me go back to the pro rata over here. The pro rata, he applied for 3,600. Whoever applied, everybody applied 3 lakh 60, they got 3 lakhs. So if you applied for 3,600, how much you got? It's X. Cross multiply, but I mean, you can make out that yes, it is only 3,000. So I should not be multiplying 3,600 into 12. No, I should be multiplying 3,000. Okay, I should be multiplying 3,000. And why do I know that? Because it wasn't what he was allotted. It is what he applied for. Applicant for 3,600 shares. Okay, so he was allotted only 3,000. He was allotted only 3,000. 3,000 into 12 is 36,000. But you have to understand that this is also not what we will subtract from uh, the bank account entry and charge to call scenarios, because he did apply for 3,600. The difference between the two is 600 shares, and he paid 600 into 4, okay, extra. So he has already paid 2,400, and that much we need to subtract from here. And this 2,400 is important later, so just keep it in mind. Okay, 10 is borrowed. Okay, we get 10 minus 4, which is 6. Therefore, this becomes 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, 33,600. Okay, what is this 33,600? The money that you're not receiving here, 33,600. Okay, anything else? And now you're in a position to credit to equity share, equity share, first and final call account. First and final call account. Okay, and how much we have to credit, that we know is anyhow 36 lakhs. Is anyhow 36 lakhs. Now we can go ahead and like calculate how much was not received and how much was received before, and get into that calculation, or we can simply make our lives easy and take this number and subtract these two numbers. You'll get the answer. Okay, so if you take 36 lakhs and subtract 33,600 and 2,40,000, and I uh, request you to do it. Okay, I can do it here. Okay, 30. Okay, and let me check the number again. It is 36 lakhs. So we are talking about 36 lakhs minus 36 lakhs minus the total of these two, which is 2 lakh 73,600. 2,73,600. Do the math yourself. Check and make sure. After subtracting, okay, you're going to end up with 33 lakh 26,400. 0, 0, 10, 4. Okay, 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 7 is 2. Okay, 34 lakh 26,400. 33 lakh 26,400. All right, so I've purposely shown you why you cannot simply take this 3,600 and multiply it into 12 to assume that is all scenarios, because we are dealing with a pro rata sum. Okay, so do not make that same mistake. All right, and keep that in mind. Anyway, we are here and we can now go ahead with the last entry where we forfeit the shares. But before that, we will have to say being first and final call money received, being first and final call money received, except for 3,000 shares. And why 3,000 shares? Because the person applied for 3,600. When everyone applied for 3 lakh 60, since everyone got 3 lakhs, he got only 3,000. Okay, that's a very important calculation. Now, we're done with this. We draw a line and we now can go ahead and cancel his shares. Now, when you're canceling shares which are issued at a premium, there are certain rules. If the premium amount is paid, that cannot be subtracted. Okay, that cannot be subtracted. Only the unpaid premium, if any, we can subtract, or what we call debit. So let me begin putting in the entries and then we look at the numbers later. We are cancelling shares, we are forfeiting shares. We are taking back shares. Debit what comes in. Equity, equity share, capital, capital account debit. Since a part of the security premium is not paid, we will also debit the securities premium account. Securities premium account. Okay, debit. Then we already know what the call scenarios are. So two calls in arrears for the money that we have not received, and two share for feature for the money that we got and we're not going to give back to the applicant. Okay, Mr. Jain is not going to get his money back. He did not pay on time and he is going to lose that money. Two share for feature. Okay, both of these are accounts. Now, the easy one for me to see is the call scenarios, which is right here 33,600 as it is. I can copy paste as a credit entry. Why I can copy paste? Because all the shares are cancelled. Then the next easy thing for me to do is look at the equity share capital, because that much I know. I know that the face value at the end of the day is 10 and I am cancelling 3,000 shares. So 3,000 is going to come. Okay. 3,000 into 10, which is 30,000 is going to come here. Now I need to think a little bit as far as the securities premium is concerned. Okay. Because the person has paid how much? Okay, he has paid everything at the time of application and allotment. So this too is looked after. This too is looked after. Okay, but he has also paid an extra 600 shares into 4, which is 2,400. Right, and that basically gets allocated to both of these. Right, so it's at this point of time where you would get confused as to how much will you debit the securities premium account. Do not worry about the pro rata. If the person does not pay first and final call, that means he did not pay this. And you can then take 4 into the number of shares that he had applied for initially, 12,000, and debit the securities premium by that amount. Okay. And then the question is, how much did he pay? How much did he pay? We can subtract backwards and get it. Okay. And I would actually argue that that would be the fastest way. Okay, and that's going to be 42,000. Okay, and let's see, I'll write it on the other screen. 42,000 minus 33,600. Okay, let me go down a little bit. 42,000 minus 33,600. Right, and again 0, 0, 10, 4, 11 minus 3 is 8, and that's it. So what we have is 8,400. Is there any way we could have gotten it directly? Uh, we could have, with a little bit of detective work, because we know that we are talking about 3,000 shares and he did definitely pay this. So 2 into 3,000 and then the 600 over here. Okay, so 600 into how much? 600 into both these numbers, 600 into 4. Okay, so 4 into 600, because we're not, if he does not pay, we don't allocate to premium. Okay, so 2,400, 6,000 and 2,400 also gives you 8,400. All right, so just if you are worried about where that number came from, two share for feature, 8,400. We do not have to reissue these shares. Nothing like that is mentioned in the question. And I'm just checking one more time if there is. All right, they are telling us that his shares were forfeited, and that's it. They specifically told us to open calls in arrears and calls in advance account, which we have done. Okay, so it's going to be uh, being being 3,000 shares forfeited for default. Okay, for default in payment of first and final call. And with that, we are done with the question. All right. So the place where you're most likely to make a mistake, I think you've seen when it comes to canceling the shares, we have to always check whether he was allotted or he had applied. Accordingly, we anyhow have to do cross multiplication where we locate the 3,000 here. So 3 lakh 60 corresponds to 3,600. 3 lakhs is X. Okay, if they had said he was allotted 3,000, we would still need to cross multiply backwards to get 3,600. All right, so reading the question is important. Any doubts, feel free to ask.